It's a busy afternoon for us on a Tuesday as we continue our breaking coverage of this pivotal court hearing on federal use of tear gas. We are going to check in with Casey Cronus, who has a summary for us of the very latest developments from right outside Dirksen. Casey.
Hey, that's right. Right now, we are just waiting for Commander Gregory Bovino to exit the Dirksen Federal Building. I'll step out of the way here so you can take a look at the entrance. Right now, we are on Jackson. The attorneys for Gregory Bovino exited the courthouse a few minutes ago, and we can assume that he is not far behind, although, as you know, there are alternate exits and entrances to this building, for example, when they usher jury members in and out. So it is possible that he may use another exit. And actually, it looks like people are heading this way, but I have not seen Gregory Bovino myself, so I'm not sure if that was perhaps an attorney for him here. But we're going to head down there shortly and check that out. Let's send things back to you so we can pick up our camera here and head that way. I'm not sure why people were running that way because, again, I did not see Gregory myself, but we're going to head over there and check it out.
Casey Cronus, thank you very much. You can see a couple of other agents. Anita said there were 4 inside. It looks like the backup has been called there, some of them masked. I do know that there are 2 exits in that building. One of them is facing toward Clark Street. The other one faces east. And so perhaps Mr. Bovino is going to try to exit out the other way. And doing the math there, perhaps he's going to get a little backup so that he doesn't get swarmed by a crowd of protesters there. Let's send it inside to Anita Blanton to see what she is seeing from the bullpen. Anita?
Yeah, I just saw no less than 20 federal agents go by with helmets on, fully dressed. And that may be because of crowd control outside. I did not see Gregory Bovino amongst them. And I can tell you that as soon as he came off the stand today, he left. So let's go back out to Casey and find out what's going on outside.
Hey, Anita. Yeah, right now there is a kind of like a scuffle here happening. Just those agents that you mentioned are wearing helmets are being surrounded by some of the protesters and members of the media out here. Protesters right now are shouting ICE out. As you mentioned, Anita, I also have not seen Gregory Bovino here with my own eyes, but we can see those other federal agents. And so I think the idea here is that protesters feel Gregory Bovino must not be far behind. But as Anthony was starting to say, there are a couple of entrances and exits here. So it is very possible that Gregory Bovino himself does not exit this way. At the same time, he has been someone who has put himself in the spotlight, issuing videos on social media, walking outside of the Broadview ICE facility, so he hasn't shied away from cameras in the past. It is very possible then that he does want to come out, show his face in front of cameras and protesters here outside. Again, this sort of gathering here, this entrance being surrounded. Not seeing Bovino with our own eyes. Protesters now shouting, ICE, go home. There are also some counter-protesters out here, but many more anti-ICE protesters than there are counter-protesters. We'll send things back to you for now.
Casey, thank you very much. And to kind of reiterate what Paris was saying a short time ago, Gregory Bovino is with Customs and Border Protection. He's not with ICE. Based on Paris's reporting and the reporting that he was citing, he was describing as the ICE efforts in recent weeks is way more targeted. And some of these CBP efforts is a little more haphazard because they are deploying tactics that they typically use in more rural areas around border towns. And it's a completely different story, obviously, when you get to an urban area like Chicago.
So we saw Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino enter through the front of the courthouse this morning, which was surprising because there is a quote-unquote back door he could have gone through. And as he entered earlier this morning, there was a lot of chaos, protesters shouting directly in his face. So it will be curious to see whether or not he chooses to exit the same way that he entered. And we're going to stick with some of these shots. See the U.S. Marshals there, as well as those Border Patrol agents kind of making a way for Gregory Bovino if he chooses to take this exit route.
Yes, we saw a group of, Anita described as about 20 or so Border Patrol agents, presumably on site to protect Gregory Bovino from the crowd of protesters that has gathered right outside the Dirksen Federal Courthouse. Also, Anita sent in a message at 11:36 a.m. That is when the hearing ended. So it's been about a half hour since the judge actually adjourned that meeting. But no sign of Bovino just yet. But here are the big bullet points from what happened in today's hearing. The judge basically ordered Gregory Bovino to show up every day in court for an update at 6 p.m. every day. She wanted him in there at 4 with how the day went in terms of enforcement in and around Chicagoland. He said, typically I'm in the field at 4 p.m. They agreed to a compromise, so 6 p.m. every day. And Gregory Bovino also said that we will comply with the temporary restraining order, with the court order itself, which limits their ability to use certain tactics in terms of crowd control, things like pepper balls and pepper spray and tear gas and things of that nature.
Right, and not only does he have to report at 6, but he has to indicate how the day went.
Yeah.
Was it a tumultuous day when they were out on the streets, or was it just fine? And then, in addition to that, which American citizens did they take into custody? Focusing not necessarily on the undocumented, but U.S. citizens that they took into custody, why they took them into custody, what their names are, identification. There were also some additional orders regarding identification on the ICE agents. They have to have at least 2 forms of identification on them so that people that are around them can see which department they're from and potentially who they are, because I know that's been a big point of contention. And they have to wear those body cameras.
Right. And as Anita mentioned, she told Gregory Bovino, the body camera is your friend. The body camera is your friend. That's a quote from the judge. And one point of contention here that it seemed like Bovino and his legal team didn't take too kindly to, because it's administratively it's a big request, and that is she wants documentation for every time use of force has been deployed dating back to September 2nd. And she wants that information by Friday.
Right, and so she's saying that if there's at least 500 incidents, you should be able to provide that information. Again, what we're watching right now is a live feed right outside the Dirksen Federal Building, downtown Chicago. We're seeing a lot of federal agents there, possibly escorting Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino outside the building. Let's get live now to Casey Cronin, who's going to detail a little bit more. Casey?
Hey, that's right. Since we last talked a few minutes ago, things have quieted down right here outside the entrance. Those federal agents that were wearing helmets that Anita described and that we saw kind of making their way back inside the courthouse here, they went in and things settled down outside. Protesters were surrounding them as they made their way into the courthouse. Now, it's unclear if they were inside, came out, and then re-entered, or if these were additional Border Patrol agents or federal agents that have now entered the building. So right now, things are quiet here at the entrance on Jackson. We will bring you the latest as we see it. But again, no sign right now of Gregory Bovino. It's unclear if he's still in the building or if he's been ushered out some alternate entrance or exit.
Thank you, Casey. Really appreciate it. Yeah, and to kind of orient people who haven't been down to that courthouse, it sits at the corner of Clark and Jackson, and there's one, or Dearborn and Jackson, I should say, and there's one entrance that goes right out onto Dearborn. That is where, you know, a lot of the footage we see of like Michael Madigan getting out of the court, that's usually where that's taken. But there's a back way out, which is just off Jackson Boulevard in the direction of State Street. I almost think there's a McDonald's right there. And sometimes they will kind of rearrange things at the last second to try to avoid cameras. But it looks, regardless of what exit he uses, it looks like he's got 20 or so escorts to kind of fight through that crowd that has gathered. And you just hope things stay safe out there.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But we've got several crews on the ground there. We'll keep you posted.